My wife Jessica and I had what I thought was a perfect life. We were that couple everyone else envied. We'd been married for 6 years, bought a cozy little house in a suburban neighborhood, had 2 kids, and shared a love for weekend barbecues and family game nights. Everything seemed to be right in our little world. But as I would soon discover, the picture-perfect life I believed we had was nothing more than an illusion. Looking back, I can see the signs of trouble. Jessica had become more distant over the past few months. She was spending late nights at work, often claiming she had deadlines to meet or meetings that ran late. I humored her, convinced that being a marketing executive in a bustling firm could be demanding. But deep down, something felt off. The late nights turned into weekends where she'd meet friends or attend networking events. It was subtle at first, but it began to eat away at my gut, gnawing at me like a persistent itch I couldn't scratch. I tried to confront her about it, but every time I brought up my concerns, she'd brush them off with that same sly smile she always wore, telling me I was being paranoid. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was really losing my mind or if my intuition was trying to tell me something I didn't want to hear. The more she brushed my concerns aside, the more I felt like a fool. One Saturday, while doing some spring cleaning in the attic, I stumbled upon an old photo album tucked away at the back of a box. The album was dusty and worn, its edges frayed. When I opened it, I was met with a wave of nostalgia. It contained photos from our early years together, our wedding, vacations, and silly candid moments. But as I flipped through the pages, I was stopped cold by the labels written in Jessica's handwriting. Each page simply said evidence. At first, I thought it was a joke, a sick, twisted sense of humor I hadn't known she possessed. But as I delved deeper, I realized this was anything but funny. The pages weren't filled with innocent memories. They were filled with photographs of Jessica with another man. They were taken at various locations, some at restaurants, others in parks. And what truly shattered my heart was the intimacy captured in each frame. The way she laughed, the way their bodies were angled toward each other, too close for comfort. My hands trembled as I turned the pages. My heart raced with each photograph, each moment that was clearly not meant for me. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, the air leaving my lungs as realization came crashing down on me. She had not just betrayed our marriage, she had documented it. I sat there, the attic dimly lit and cluttered, while the weight of betrayal weighed heavy on my chest. My mind raced with a million thoughts. How could she do this to me? What had I missed? Who was this guy? Why did she think I wouldn't find out? I needed to confront her, but my heart was racing with fear of what I might hear in return. I decided to bide my time, to let the shock settle before I broke the news to her. I needed to think clearly about how I would approach this. I couldn't let her weasel her way out of this one. I'd seen too many stories of cheaters lying through their teeth in the face of undeniable evidence. I wanted to be prepared for the confrontation that was to come. As I sat there in the attic, surrounded by memories that felt like a lie, I wondered how I could have been so blind. But I was done being blind. I was ready to face the truth, no matter how painful it would be. This was just the beginning of a storm that would upend my life. Little did I know, the confrontation would uncover layers of deceit and betrayal I never anticipated. But for now, I held on to the evidence, the proof that my world was about to change forever. After that day in the attic, I spent the next few days in a haze. I couldn't focus at work, and I found myself staring blankly at my computer screen, the images of Jessica and her lover replaying in my mind like a broken record. I kept the photo album hidden in my closet, a painful reminder of the betrayal that was eating me alive. As the sun set every evening, casting shadows around our home, I could feel the calm surface of my life cracking beneath the weight of my suspicions. I decided to take a different approach to gather more information before confronting her. I started observing her behavior closely. I noticed that she was more anxious and distracted, often fiddling with her phone during dinner. The sweet little texts she used to send me had turned into quick replies, barely masking her preoccupation. I knew she was communicating with him. One evening, while the kids were playing in the backyard, I seized the opportunity. Jessica was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone as she prepared dinner. I casually walked past her, pretending to grab a drink from the fridge, and I caught a glimpse of her screen. My heart raced. There it was, a message thread with the mysterious man. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but curiosity and betrayal surged through me like adrenaline. I managed to catch a few snippets of their conversation, flirty comments, emojis, and plans that made my blood boil. It was like watching someone else's romantic comedy play out in front of me, but the plot twist was that I was the unsuspecting fool. I felt sick to my stomach, a mix of fury and heartache swirling in a toxic cocktail. The next day I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I had to confront her. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would maintain my composure, but deep down I was terrified. I knew she'd have excuses ready, that she'd try to spin her way out of this mess. But I wouldn't let her. I had the evidence and I was determined to get the truth. When she came home from work that evening, I was sitting in the living room, my heart racing in my chest. She walked in, her usual bright smile fading as she noticed my serious demeanor. "What's wrong?" she asked, her brow furrowing with concern, though I could see the glimmer of defensiveness in her eyes. "Jessica, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I could feel the tension building in the air as she sat down across from me, her expression shifting from concern to wariness. "I found something in the attic," I continued, my voice barely above a whisper. "Something that changes everything." Her face paled slightly, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. "What do you mean?" she asked, feigning innocence that I knew was nothing more than a mask. I took a breath, steeling myself for what was to come. "I found a photo album, one labeled evidence. It didn't have our memories in it, Jess. It had you with another man." The words fell from my lips like stones, heavy and cold. Her reaction was immediate. The vulnerability I had seen for a fleeting moment was replaced by a quick flash of annoyance and anger. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, her voice rising. "You're just being paranoid. You know I have a lot going on at work and I'm always busy. You can't just assume things." "No, I don't think you understand," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. "I've seen the messages, Jess. I saw you with him. You think I wouldn't notice? You've been lying to me." A silence hung in the air, thick and heavy. I could see her scrambling for an excuse, her mind racing as she tried to come up with something that would shield her from the truth. "Listen, it's not what you think. I was just trying to get ahead at work, and yes, I hung out with some colleagues, but it's not like that." She stammered, her voice shaky. "Not like what?" I shot back, my patience fraying. "Is it just work then? Is that what you call it when you're having sex with another man?" Her face turned a shade of crimson and I could see the cracks in her facade. "You don't understand what I was going through," she attempted to explain, her voice now defensive. "You've been so distant and I just needed someone to talk to." I didn't mean for it to go that far. I felt rage boiling within me. "You didn't mean for it to go that far. This isn't just some emotional affair, Jess. You crossed a line. You let it happen." As the confrontation escalated, I watched her desperately try to backpedal, but I was done listening to her lies. Every excuse she made felt like another stab in the heart, and the anger mixed with an overwhelming sense of betrayal as I processed the truth. I suddenly felt a chill. This was no longer about saving our marriage or understanding her feelings. I realized she had made her choice, and in that moment I had to make mine. The emotional turmoil had shifted from shock to a cold, hard resolution. I could feel the ground beneath me shifting as I prepared to take control of my life, to reclaim my dignity. But first, I needed to understand just how deep the betrayal ran and what I planned to do about it. This was only the beginning of a journey that would uncover the full extent of her deception and ultimately lead me to decisions I never thought I'd have to make. The confrontation reached a boiling point, and as Jessica's excuses poured out in a frenzied attempt to deflect blame, I felt a mixture of anger and sadness wash over me. I realized I had to approach this situation from a place of clarity. Instead of yelling, I decided to step back, take a deep breath, and analyze what was happening. "Enough with the excuses, Jess," I said firmly, my voice calmer than I felt inside. "You can't just pretend this didn't happen. You've betrayed my trust and I deserve to know the truth." As she opened her mouth protest, I raised my hand. "No more lies, just tell me the truth. Who is he? How long has this been going on?" I felt my heart racing, bracing myself for the answers I didn't want to hear. Her expression shifted, raw guilt and fear replaced the defiance that had characterized her behavior moments before. "His name is Mark," she finally admitted, her voice trembling. "He's a colleague. We started talking and it just escalated. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but it just happened." A wave of nausea hit me as I processed her words. Mark. The name felt foreign and painful, like a dagger twisting in my gut. "How long?" I demanded, forcing myself to keep my voice steady even as fury threatened to overwhelm me. "About 6 months," she said, barely making eye contact. 6 months. The weight of that revelation felt like a lead balloon in my chest. I had been living in blissful ignorance while my wife had been building a secret life with another man. "And you thought I wouldn't find out?" I seethed, my voice dripping with disbelief. "I thought I could end it." "I didn't want to hurt you," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "But when I tried, it was so hard. It was like I couldn't let go. I thought I could compartmentalize it, keep you and the kids safe while I just explored something outside our marriage." "Explored? Is that what you call a 6-month affair?" I shot back, the anger bubbling over. "You think you can just have your cake and eat it too? You don't get to play the victim here, Jessica. You made choices, and now we're all going to pay the price." I could see her crumbling before me, but a part of me felt that she needed to face the consequences of her actions. I didn't want to sympathize with her. I wanted her to understand the impact of her betrayal fully. "What do you think happens now?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Do you expect me to just forgive you and pretend everything is fine?" "No, no, of course not," she exclaimed, shaking her head vehemently. "I don't expect that. I want to fix this. I love you and I know I messed up, but I want to make things right." Love. The word felt hollow in her mouth. How could she say that when she had tossed our marriage aside so easily? I could feel bitterness boiling up inside, and I couldn't let her words sway me. "You think love is enough? It's going to take a lot more than love to fix what you've done, Jess." In that moment, I knew I had to make a decision. The reality was, I didn't know whether I wanted to work on this marriage or walk away. The trust had been shattered, and I was faced with an impossible choice. But a part of me realized that I couldn't simply let this slide. I had to take control of my life again. "I need space," I said finally, my voice low but firm. "I need time to think about everything. I can't just jump back into how things were. You've shattered my trust, and I don't know if I can ever get it back." Jessica's face fell, and I could see the realization wash over her that her actions had consequences. "Please don't do this," she begged. "I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll cut off all ties with Mark. Just please don't leave me." But I was already thinking about what it would mean to leave her. I envisioned my life without her, wake-up calls that didn't come with a bitter aftertaste, weekends where I could focus on my kids without the weight of betrayal hanging over me. I imagined a future where I could rebuild my life on solid ground, knowing I wasn't living with a stranger. "Sika, I can't do this right now," I said, my heart heavy with the gravity of my words. "I need time to figure things out. I don't want to rush into a decision I might regret later, but I can't keep pretending that everything is fine." She nodded, tears continuing to stream down her face. For the first time, I saw a flicker of realization in her eyes that her actions had put us on a path that may not be easily traversed back from. "I'll give you space," she said softly, her voice cracking. "But please don't give up on me." As she walked away, the silence that filled the room felt deafening. I was left with my thoughts, processing the emotional fallout of our conversation. I felt lost, like a ship adrift in uncharted waters. The resolve I had felt moments earlier was now mixed with a profound sadness. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I had to prioritize my well-being. I needed to think clearly about what I wanted, not just for myself, but also for our children. They deserved a stable environment, free from the turmoil that had invaded our home. I spent the following days in a whirlwind of emotions, grappling with the reality of my new life. The house felt different, empty in a way that echoed the emotional distance that had grown between us. I found myself taking walks, trying to clear my head, seeking solace in the mundane as I contemplated the weight of my decisions. In the midst of all this chaos, I realized one thing. I needed to gather my strength. I had to prepare for the next steps in this journey, whether it led to reconciliation or a much-needed separation. The path forward was unclear, but I knew I had to confront this head-on. I had to reclaim my dignity and decide if Jessica was worth the fight or if I needed to walk away for good. The days turned into weeks, and the emotional turmoil of the past few weeks began to settle into a heavy, persistent ache. I kept my distance from Jessica, maintaining a sort of uneasy peace in our home. The kids, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface, continued to fill the house with laughter and joy while I felt like an imposter in my own life. I longed for the days when our biggest battles were deciding what to watch on Netflix or whose turn it was to do the dishes. But now, every interaction with Jessica carried a weight that felt insurmountable. We navigated a fragile coexistence, communicating only about the kids or household matters, while the air crackled with unspoken words and unresolved tension. I could see the regret in her eyes, the longing for the life we once shared, but every time I looked at her, all I could see was the betrayal. During this time, I decided to seek advice from friends who had been through similar situations. I gathered my courage and called up my best friend, Tom, who had witnessed our relationship evolve over the years. We met up at a local bar where we used to hang out, the familiar setting clashing starkly with my current inner turmoil. "So, what's going on, man?" Tom asked as we settled into a booth. He had a way of cutting through the noise, getting right to the heart of the matter. "You look like a ghost." I took a deep breath and filled him in on everything: the late nights, the photo album, the confrontation. I watched as his expression shifted from concern to disbelief, and eventually to anger. "I can't believe she would do that to you," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "You deserve so much better. Have you thought about what you want?" "I don't know," I admitted, feeling the weight of uncertainty press down on me. Part of me wants to fight for what we had, but another part feels like I'm holding on to something that's already broken. I just don't know if I can trust her again. Tom nodded, his expression serious. "You have to put yourself first in this. It's easy to want to fix things for the sake of the kids, but you can't do it at the expense of your own happiness. You have to decide if reconciliation is worth it." His words resonated with me, and I felt a flicker of determination igniting within me. I knew I couldn't stay in this limbo forever. I had to either start the process of healing our marriage or begin the painful journey of separation. There was no middle ground. That night, I returned home with a new sense of resolve. I found Jessica in the living room, flipping through a magazine, the light from the lamp casting shadows across her face. She looked up, her expression hopeful yet tentative. "Hey, how was your night?" she asked, her voice soft. "Can we talk?" I said, my heart racing. She nodded and sat up straight, the hope in her eyes flickering. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "I've been thinking about everything, and I can't keep pretending like this is okay. I need to know if we're going to fight for our marriage or if we're going to go our separate ways." I could see the tension in her shoulders ease slightly, but the fear in her eyes was palpable. "I want to fight for us," she said quickly. "I'll do whatever it takes, I promise. Just give me a chance to make it right." "What does that look like?" I asked, wanting specifics. "How can I trust that you mean it this time?" "I'll cut off all communication with Mark. I'll go to therapy, individual and couples. I'll do whatever it takes to show you that I'm committed to rebuilding our marriage." She responded earnestly, her eyes pleading for me to believe her. I considered her words carefully, weighing the sincerity in her voice against the betrayal that still stung like a fresh wound. "It's going to take more than just promises, Jess. I need to see real change. I don't want to go through this again." "I understand," she said, her voice steady. "I know I've shattered your trust, and I'm willing to do the hard work to earn it back. I'll be open, honest, and transparent. I won't keep any secrets. I'll even share my phone if that helps." Her willingness to share her phone struck me as a genuine first step, but the skepticism in me wondered if it was a tactic to placate me. Still, I sensed a glimmer of sincerity in her voice, and I wasn't ready to shut the door on our marriage just yet. "Let's start with therapy then," I said, feeling a mix of hope and trepidation. "But I need you to know this isn't a magical fix. It's going to take time, and I may not be ready to forgive you right away." "I understand," she replied softly, her voice cracking again. I'm willing to do the work, whatever it takes. With that, a tentative agreement was reached. We decided to find a couples therapist to help us navigate the challenging road ahead. It was a step forward, but deep down, I knew that rebuilding trust would be a hard, uphill battle. As the days turned into weeks again, we embarked on this new chapter of our lives. Therapy sessions became a regular part of our routine, and slowly we began to peel back the layers of hurt and betrayal. Each session was an emotional roller coaster, filled with tears, anger, and moments of vulnerability that I hadn't expected to experience. Jessica faced her demons, revealing insecurities and fears that she had masked with her infidelity. I listened, absorbed, and tried to understand, but it was still difficult to separate her past actions from the woman sitting in front of me. The healing process was slow, too slow, but with each session I felt a shift within myself. I was learning to express my feelings, my anger, my sadness, and my confusion, something I had struggled to do before. I was also beginning to see Jessica in a new light, not just as the woman who had betrayed me, but as a complex individual who had made regrettable choices. Yet the question loomed over us: could we truly rebuild what was broken? I still didn't have the answer, but for the first time in weeks, I felt like we were moving in a direction, even if it was uncertain. I was willing to try, and maybe, just maybe, we could find a way back to each other. But the storm of emotions was still brewing in the background. I knew that facing the aftermath of her betrayal would take time, and life wouldn't be the same as before. There was still a long road ahead, and I had to be prepared for whatever challenges lay in store for us. I was determined to seek clarity, to understand my own needs, and to navigate this new and rocky terrain as best I could. As the therapy sessions progressed, I began to notice some subtle changes in Jessica. She was more present, more engaged in our conversations. It was as if a fog had lifted, allowing her to see the impact her actions had on our family. But with each breakthrough, there were moments when the past would rear its ugly head, reminding me of the betrayal that had shattered my trust. One evening, after one particularly productive session where Jessica opened up about her insecurities and fears, we sat in the living room, the kids tucked into bed. The air felt lighter, and for the first time in a while I felt a flicker of warmth toward her. "Thank you for being patient with me," she said softly, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I know I don't deserve it, but I'm trying to become a better person for you and for our family. Patience doesn't come easy," I admitted, my voice steady, but tinged with the weight of unresolved feelings. "I still struggle with what you did, Jess. It's hard for me to forget. I want to trust you, but I have to work through this in my own time." "I understand," she replied, and I could sense a newfound respect in her tone. "I never wanted to hurt you. I just got lost in my own insecurities, and I thought I could find solace outside our marriage. I was wrong, and I'm trying to own that." We talked late into the night, sharing our fears and hopes for the future. It felt cathartic, a glimmer of the intimacy we once shared. But as I looked into her eyes, I couldn't shake the feeling that the road ahead was still fraught with uncertainty. Then came the day I received a text that would test my resolve. It was from an unknown number, and as I opened it, my heart dropped. The message was short but chilling. "Mark wants to talk to you. He has something important to say about Jessica." Panic surged through me, and I felt the walls closing in. I had thought we were moving forward, that Jessica was committed to cutting all ties with him. With shaky hands, I called Tom, my fingers trembling against the phone screen. I needed his support, someone to talk me through this mounting anxiety. "Dude, what do I do?" I asked, packing the living room as the words spilled out. "She said she ended it with him. This feels like a betrayal all over again." "First, take a breath," Tom advised calmly. "You need to talk to Jessica about this. Don't jump to conclusions. It could be a bluff, or maybe it's something that doesn't need to involve you, but you need to get the facts straight." He was right, but that didn't quell the storm of emotions churning inside me. I sat there for a moment, trying to gather my thoughts. Would Jessica be honest with me again? Could this be the moment where everything crumbled again, sending us back to square one? After a few agonizing hours, I finally confronted Jessica. Her reaction was immediate. Confusion washed over her face, followed by alarm. "What? Who sent you that?" she asked, her voice rising in panic. "I got a text from someone saying, Mark wants to talk to me about you. What the hell is going on?" I demanded, my heart racing as I watched her demeanor shift from fear to defensiveness. "That's absurd," she exclaimed, her eyes wide. "I've had no contact with him since we started therapy. I swear I've cut him out of my life. You have to believe me." "Then why would he reach out to me?" I pressed, unable to shake the doubt creeping into my mind. "This feels like a betrayal all over again, Jess. Did you really end it?" "I thought I had," she cried, her hands trembling. "Maybe he's trying to stir up trouble to get under my skin. I promise you I'm not involved with him anymore." "Then what does he want?" I countered, frustration bubbling over. The fear of losing our progress, of being cast back into a cycle of pain, gnawed at my insides. "I can't keep doing this, Jessica. I need you to be honest with me." "I don't know," she shouted, tears spilling down her cheeks. "But I'll handle it. I'll tell him to leave you alone. Just please do." "Jump to conclusions. I've worked hard to fix this and I don't want to lose you again." With her eyes pleading for my trust, I felt torn, caught between my gut instincts and the glimmer of hope I had been clinging to. "I need to know what he wants," I said finally, trying to control my emotions. "I can't just ignore this." "What do you want to do?" she asked, her voice shaky yet determined. "Do you want to confront him?" "I'll support whatever decision you make, but I promise you I'm committed to us." As I contemplated my options, I realized that I needed to take control of the situation. I couldn't let Mark's interference derail our hard work. "I'll reach out," I said, my voice firm. "But understand this, Jess. If he has anything to say that compromises our marriage, you need to understand that I won't tolerate it." Jessica nodded, her expression serious. "I'll stand by you, whatever it takes. I want to prove to you that I can change, that I'm worth fighting for." As I gathered my strength to write a response to Mark, I felt a mixture of dread and determination. I needed to confront whatever he had to say head-on, and I wouldn't let his presence dictate the future of my marriage. It was time to take a stand, no more running from the truth. I sent a simple text back to Mark, demanding to know what he wanted. Within minutes, my phone buzzed again. "We need to talk. Meet me at the old park where you used to take Jessica. I have something important to discuss." The moment felt like a turning point. I was on a collision course with the truth, and I was ready to face whatever lay on the other side. This was my chance to reclaim my narrative, to understand the extent of Jessica's betrayal, and to finally put an end to the chaos that had invaded our lives. Whatever happened next, I knew I had to brace myself for the storm ahead. The next day, I found myself at the old park, a place that once held countless happy memories of Jessica and me. The sound of children's laughter echoed in the distance, a stark contrast to the knot of anxiety twisting in my stomach. I arrived early, trying to steady my nerves as I sat on a bench and waited for Mark to show up. I replayed the last few weeks in my mind, the therapy sessions, the tentative steps toward rebuilding our marriage, the flickers of hope intertwined with the shadows of betrayal. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever Mark had to say could shatter the fragile progress we had made. When he arrived, he approached with a confident stride, his demeanor cocky and unrepentant. I stood up, fists clenched at my sides, ready to confront him. "What do you want?" I asked, cutting straight to the point. "Easy there, champ, I just want to talk," he said, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "This isn't what you think." "Then tell me what it is," I shot back, my heart racing. "You've been with my wife for 6 months. Don't act like you're just some concerned friend." He raised his hands in mock surrender. "I didn't come here to fight. I just think you deserve to know the whole story, that's all." "Then spill it," I demanded, my anger bubbling to the surface. Mark leaned back against a tree, crossing his arms. "Jessica and I had a connection, sure, but it wasn't the fairy tale you're imagining. She was lost, you know. She told me all about your issues, how distant you'd become. I thought I was helping her find herself." The words hit me like a punch. Jessica had opened up to him, confiding in him about our struggles, a violation of trust that felt like a betrayal in itself. "You think that justifies what you did?" I retorted, my voice rising. "You took advantage of her vulnerability." His expression shifted slightly, losing some of its bravado. Look, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't even think it would go that far, but she kept coming back. We had fun together. She's a beautiful woman, and I thought she deserved more than what you were giving her. More, I spat. You think it's fun to destroy a family. You think whatever you had was worth it. You were a coward hiding behind her insecurities. Mark's facade began to crack, and I could see the guilt creeping in. I didn't want this to end badly. I didn't know she'd want to go. Back to you, I thought she'd leave you for good. Why are you telling me this? I asked, narrowing my eyes. What do you want from me? Do you want me to forgive you? No, I'm just saying you should know the truth. You can't fix what you don't understand, he said, his tone shifting to something more serious. You need to recognize that you had a part in this too. She was searching for something and you weren't there to give it to her. His words stung, but they also struck a chord of truth. I had been distant, caught up in the grind of life, and I hadn't noticed how much Jessica had been struggling. The guilt washed over me like a wave, but I wrestled with the voice inside me that wanted to blame him entirely. You think that excuses your actions. You can't absolve yourself of responsibility. Mark shrugged, and for a moment I saw a flicker of humanity in him. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just thought you deserved to hear it from me instead of her. With that, the conversation ended, and I walked away, my mind swirling with mixed emotions. I couldn't believe I had let Mark into my life, even momentarily. I felt dirty, but there was something about the encounter that had shifted my perspective. I realized I had a choice to make. I could either let this encounter tear down the progress we had made or use it to propel me forward. When I returned home, I found Jessica sitting at the kitchen table, her expression anxious. You met him, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. What did he say? I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation. He told me everything, Jess. He said you were searching for something more, that he thought you wanted to leave me. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I saw genuine fear and regret. That's not what I wanted. I was lost, and I thought he could help me find my way. But I never wanted to leave you. I love you, and I want to work on us. Please believe that. I studied her, searching for any hint of insincerity, but all I saw was a woman who had made a colossal mistake. A woman who was desperate to reclaim what we had lost. Mark told me that you confided in him about our issues, I said, my voice steady. I did, she admitted, tears brimming in her eyes. I thought I was reaching out for help, but I never thought it would get so out of hand. I was scared and confused, and I just wanted to feel loved again. But I know that's no excuse. As we talked, I felt the tension begin to ease, but I knew this was only the beginning. We need to face these issues together, I said finally. If we're going to make this work, we have to be honest with each other. We have to fight for our marriage together. I'm ready, I promise, she said, her voice trembling. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. I don't want to lose you again. That night, as we lay in bed, I felt a sense of bittersweet resolve wash over me. The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe we could rebuild what had been lost, brick by brick, if we were willing to face the truth and confront our issues head-on. I learned that love isn't just a feeling. It's a commitment to growth, to honesty, and to facing the hard truths together. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to embrace it, however painful it might be. In the end, I realized that healing requires vulnerability and strength. It's about recognizing your own shortcomings while holding each other accountable. As we moved forward, I finally felt like we were taking the first steps needed to reclaim our lives and our love. The future was uncertain, but together, we would face whatever came next.